voice. I am your voice.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new live stream. We'll wait for some people to get in here, but in the meantime, make sure you guys hit that like button down below. We're only at 31 likes, and we didn't have that many people waiting, but that's okay because they're about to pour in. We don't usually take up this time slot. We don't usually go live this early, but why not go live this early today? Change things up a little bit. Also don't usually go live on Wednesdays, but I feel like now that it's the off season, kind of 2 per week is fine, and to maximize the amount of content, it would make most sense to do Sunday and Wednesday instead of Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, or just Sunday and Tuesday. You name it. But anyways, we are going to get to some of these updates when more people pour in. When we hit that 100 like mark, make sure you guys like this stream down below, or we're not going to have a face cam. We always set it at 100. We're going to keep it that way. So make sure you guys hit the like button. Subscribe if you're new. We're almost to 214K. We're gaining. Even though the election is over, we're doing great. We're doing great. But if we could get some more people in the live show right now, that would be great. Someone in chat says we're used to no face cam. I get that, but we gotta make it happen. We'll wait for some people to get in here. Face cam will go on. Stream will start at 100 likes in the meantime. And that's how it works. It's how it's always worked. That's how it's going to continue to work. We will get some more people pouring in. Finally, 125 people. Make sure, again, you guys, face cam goes on at 100 likes. We're only to 58. So we'll see. We're getting up there. We're getting there. We'll cover a few things in the show today. We're going to be talking about the Trump transition. We have some new updates, some new appointments he made, including today, by the way, and some new obstacles that will be faced within the Senate. So already we're at 71. We got 29 left to go, and we got 140 people in live chat. Come on, guys, let's get there. We're gonna get there eventually. I know it's not exactly a what do you call it? The usual time slot. It's not, but we're taking this one, but we can't start until we get 100. That does not change. So we got 25 likes to go. 23. All right, we'll get there. If I put the notice out a little, I thought I put it out about an hour before, but the computer it froze up, I guess, and it took a while. So the more people we get in, the more likes we'll get. And also, guys, feel free to send in super chats. We're going to be getting to those in probably around the 20-minute mark or so during the show. But we do have a few things to cover, and I'm sure you guys are going to add more to the conversation as well. But we got 8 likes to go. 8 likes until we hit there. And when we hit 100, it starts. There we go. We got to 100. It's official. That might be a very whatever the opposite of a record would be. Maybe you should have just let the song go the whole time, but that's okay because we are back, and here we are. We have 40 days left until Donald Trump is going to resume his presidency. He was put on pause for about 4 years, and he came back stronger than ever, and now he officially, as a result, has won the Time Magazine Person of the Year. And it should really be the Man of the Year. To be honest, Man of the Year sounds better. If a woman wins it, you call it Woman of the Year. If a group of people win it, maybe then you go People of the Year, whatever. But still, Trump has won the award. Now, a lot of people were sharing around the cover of the last one, where it says Donald Trump, President of the Divided States of America. That's not the cover this year. We don't know what the cover is going to be this year, but it's going to be absolutely abysmal if they're not going to go out there and use the Butler, Pennsylvania picture, because that is just the defining moment of his political career. And usually they say sequels don't top the originals. Well, you know, I think there were good things about both for sure. I think everybody can agree. I think 2016 was a political year unlike anything, you know, just from the onset of the elections, primaries on both sides, and what it kind of led up to. It got a lot of people, including myself, interested in politics that never really were all that interested before. But 2024, this is like the completion of the hero's journey. Donald Trump, he's, you know, everyone wrote him off essentially. Even a good chunk of Republicans, you know, after 2022 were writing him off. He had his loyal support base. We never left, but still a lot of people were unwilling to just, I guess you would say, let their TDS go in some way, shape, or form. You got people on the right. You got obviously most people on the left, but it does feel like even they're running out of energy. And not only is Donald Trump resuming his place atop the Time magazine Person of the Year, which again, it should be him. There's really, you know, besides him, it's like a race for the second place. I think second place, you probably put Elon. I think Elon was very influential. But the reason why he was influential was because he was able to open up the internet, be one of these first, you know, powerful people to defect from their, you know, traditional sense of politics in the establishment left and join Donald Trump and help Donald Trump. So even the reason why some people this year, like Elon, were influential, it's obviously because of Donald Trump and because they were able to use that influence to help Donald Trump. Therefore, the spotlight stays on Trump regardless. I don't think anybody really could make a case for anybody else besides Trump. And it's hilarious that Kamala Harris ended up on the short list, as I mean, it's been widely reported. Again, I mean, Hillary was in the short list in 2016 as well. Again, well, what can you exactly say about that? But either way, he won it. That is obviously well-deserved after the past year, the past 4 years, the past 8 years since he won it last, and even, I guess you could say, the past 9 years ever since he rode down the escalator back in 2015. So we have that, but we also have additional updates as well. And because we talk about Donald Trump, he's becoming more popular as we speak. We talk about the opposition, the left. What are they doing? They're in total and complete disarray. They don't know where the hell to go from here. You look at this, it's like, oh, well, CNN now conducts a poll, and now they have to report on the fact that 55% of Americans approve of Trump's handling of the transition. So we are going to play this clip right here.
There's no doubt that the president is going to enter office with a little bit of a honeymoon. Take a look here. Donald Trump has a 55% approval rating. That's not normally a support level we see for him as it relates to his handling of the transition right now. 45% disapprove. Compare this to 8 years ago when Donald Trump...
And by the way, just for the record, when we look at this, it says January 7th, 2017. There's no way you saw an 8-point dip from November to January. That's like an outlier. Their polls are known for producing them, and they usually end up going in one direction more so than the other. But then you compare now to then, it's like night and day. We'll play the rest of the clip.
Donald Trump first won the presidency in November 16. At this point, he was at 46% approval of his handling of the transition. There's no doubt.
Okay, so you could see that there. Are we still, do we have connection, guys? I don't know what's going on. Lagging, little lag. Is the lag, it should be over. It should be over, but the gist of the clip remains the same. And that is that Donald Trump, when he first took office, the transition was not viewed in a positive light. It was not, or at least compared to where it was now. He was still very polarizing because you had this big opposition against him. Many of those people ended up growing up and even supporting him in some cases, or just stopped caring so much about trying to get this guy because they realized they tried. They tried everything they possibly could do. It didn't matter. It didn't work. He is on top of the, let me see. Okay. Well, I don't know what's going on because I should be able to tell when the stream is fine. I should be able to tell when the stream is fine. But now it says, okay, it goes up, then it goes down. I don't know. The thing is that we're connected to the Ethernet cable, so there shouldn't be lag. There shouldn't be any lag. Maybe we could try it without it plugged in. Maybe that's going to help. But that's going to make it lag for a second. Okay. Are we good now? Are we good now? It should be fine now. Okay, it should be fine now. So, all right. So, I lost my train of thought for a second while we had lag, but the main takeaway from this whole thing is that you have this presidency, and not only did Donald Trump essentially run the same campaign, arguably a little bit more of a lean into his traditional principles compared to even his 2016 campaign. It definitely different circumstances for sure. Same overarching message. Revive the American dream. Now it was all about a golden age. He was kind of even tapping into it a little bit more, saying, mass deportations. That was something that was there, but it became a bigger focus of this campaign. And it also is a policy that is more popular. And this isn't like something that Donald Trump is backing off of. It's something that he's leaning into. Not only building his cabinet, but also what he's prioritizing to get done when he takes the White House. And part of that is because he has a public mandate to do it, a mandate to govern on those things, because it's not like you win, you control Congress. That's technically a mandate. Winning the popular vote is even more of a mandate, which he did this time. He did not do in 2016. But then you look at what's going on with his handling of the transition, and you see the approval polls, because these are people who, may not vote exactly, or if they do vote, maybe they didn't vote for Trump, but they're not exactly as partisan. And you look at, how they're viewing the Trump presidency already. They're viewing it positive before it's even beginning. Back in 2016-17, take the average of those two polls. That's 43% approve, 48% disapprove. So that's a 15-point net gain, a little bit more than that, actually, in favor of Donald Trump. Think about that. It's turned on its head. This is not exactly the same old political sphere. You have a media that has lost credibility with the people. They've gone so far unhinged, but people aren't listening to them anymore. People aren't buying it anymore. They get their news from podcasts. They do their own research, so to speak, and that doesn't mean listen to the mainstream cable news media. Nobody's watching the mainstream cable news media anymore. Even on the right, does Fox get the same viewership it got 4, 5, 6 years ago? No, of course not. Does anyone under the age of 45 watch Fox often? Probably not too many people, especially compared to, 10, 15, 20 years ago if you're talking about the mainstream media, because the whole just entire landscape, cultural zeitgeist is changing. You can support Trump in public. You get praised for it more so than you get clowned on for it. You're seeing that it's become socially acceptable to support Donald Trump. It's becoming socially acceptable to say we want mass deportations, we want X, Y, and Z. The entire landscape has changed, which means that Donald Trump should be able to build the cabinet that the American people voted for and the American people support without any opposition, at least not on the Republican side or senators in any of the states that voted for him, especially if they represent the state from the Republican Party. And we talk about certain states like Indiana voted for Donald Trump by 20 points. These are red states, but still you have senators who are Republicans who are backstabbing the agenda, not willing to commit to vote to confirm people that Donald Trump put in place that are going to enact Donald Trump's campaign promises. Donald Trump promised that he would put somebody in charge of the Department of Justice who would end the weaponization. He promised that he would put RFK Jr. in the cabinet to lead or at least have a major role, but a lot of people expected that to mean Health and Human Services. That's why I wouldn't say a good chunk of Trump's voters voted for him, but there's a sizable chunk of like the voters that he got this time that were new voters who voted for him specifically because of things like that. Donald Trump gave people a reason to turn out and vote for him. That's why he won, and that's why he won in the fashion he did, despite the current, hyper polarization that we have in our political climate. But when you look at this and you see the Indiana Senator Todd Young, who won his reelection 2 years ago, 2 years before Trump won. They won by similar margins, 20%, the margin of victories. This is not a state that is even close to being a blue state or an anti-Trump state or you name it, but he's not willing to commit to vote for somebody that Donald Trump wants to put in charge of the Department of Defense, somebody who is more than qualified, somebody who is very intelligent, has double Ivy League degrees, and on top of that, he's somebody that will help fulfill the campaign promise that Donald Trump said, we will end wokeness in the military, we will stop that. And a lot of the wokeness in the military, what it is to do is to kind of discourage a lot of, in many cases, capable people from joining, because capable, normal people, they're not going to want to join a woke military by and large. It's going to attract people who are weaker, and who does that exactly help? Well, not our enemy, or not us, that's for sure. But you talk about what Trump campaigned on. He campaigned on getting the woke and indoctrination and all that stuff out of the military, firing these generals at the Pentagon. And to do that, it's going to take somebody who's qualified but an outsider. That's why he put Pete Hegseth as his pick for the post. That's why he made that decision. And a lot of people are just like questioning the decision because the Pentagon is afraid. And the same thing goes for the FBI with Kash Patel. Christopher Wray resigns today. You're seeing it across the board. And you have other senators, John Cornyn also, about RFK Jr. saying, oh no, I don't know if I could vote to confirm. It's like the American people voted for this cabinet. They knew exactly what they were getting. I'm sick and tired of these people. They never understood what the Trump revolution was about. Now they want to lecture people on what they voted for. Like, no, you don't get to do that. Of course, not everybody's going to agree with every decision the person they vote for ends up making, but people knew. Everybody knew Trump. And Trump is putting a cabinet around him that represents his vision for the country, which is not exactly what he did last time. You had a few decent people here and there. Nobody's trying to say you didn't. But you talk about the people he had in charge, people who lied to him about troop counts in Syria, leading the Pentagon, these warmongering Bush-era neocons that Mike Pence kind of helped staff the cabinet with some other people. And that's what you ended up with. Now, Donald Trump, this time around, you have a much better team from all the way from the VP all the way down. Are there some people that some people are going to be skeptical about? Of course, that really wouldn't be a cabinet if you had everybody perfect. Probably would not, I guess you would say, be all that feasible in some cases. There's certain people that you're talking about picking the best of the worst of qualified individuals for a certain post, you name it. But altogether, Donald Trump, it's in many cases unconventional. That's true. But like I said, this is a cabinet that is representing what the voters and what his base wanted from the get-go. And you still have these weak, pathetic losers who just are spitting in the face of their own voter base. And when you do that, this is why the Republican Party doesn't get Trump level support in off years. It's a big part of the reason why, because when you have people in charge who actively work to subvert the Donald Trump agenda, the MAGA agenda, spit in the face of the base, look down on the base in a similar way, a dietary version of whatever the left does, this is what you get. And you get a party that's still divided. They can't get with the times. And of course, it is true we're moving the Overton window in the process. It is true the Senate was far, 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 far worse when Donald Trump first took office. And it is true that his cabinet picks were much weaker, but they were beloved in the eyes of a lot of these weak rhinos. Now he's picking better people, and you can tell because of the people that are opposing these people. And these are the same usual suspects. Todd Young, now you have Joni Ernst, and it's like Ernst was viewed back in 2017 probably as one of the better senators. Now she's on the chopping block for a primary challenge. Now it is true that she did come forward and say she would vote to confirm Hegseth, but it shouldn't have even been a question for some of these people. Are these people qualified technically? Are they going to have to go through a hearing or whatever? Every single cabinet nominee does. But there's not a single Democrat who opposed a Biden cabinet nominee. Not a single one. In fact, many Republicans voted for many of those nominees. But you know what? At the end of the day, it doesn't quite matter. You know, these people still want a grandstand for one reason or another. The left doesn't have that problem. Only we have that problem for some reason, and it's weak leadership. In many cases, it's controlled. We're the controlled opposition. Some of these people, not all of these people, but some of these people are. And it's up to us to make sure that they fall in line with the agenda or they face a primary challenge. That's what we got to do. We need a Congress that is going to represent the interests of the president from the same party. The president's the de facto leader of the party. The party needs to fall in line with his agenda at a very minimum in Congress. That's really all that we're asking. That's basically it. So anyways, we will be getting to some of these super chats, but really quickly, new report. A lot of people were wondering where Kari Lake would end up. Would she run for office again? Would she end up in Donald Trump's cabinet in some form? A lot of people said ambassador to Mexico. Doesn't seem like she's getting that position because Trump gave it to somebody else, but he officially said that Kari Lake will be the director of the Voice of America. So basically, this is going to be like Trump's news, essentially, from the White House. And she's going to be the news anchor, which, again, does make sense. It does make sense to put her in that position. She'll do great in that position as a news anchor. She's going to seamlessly, I guess you would say, transition to the news anchor of Voice of America, which is apparently going to be a state-funded international broadcasting network. Is this something that is already in existence? I don't know, but either way, it's a good place for her in the cabinet, doing something that she's done her entire career. So either way, that's the latest news for that. So we'll get to the super chats. We'll see what you guys have to say. We've got quite a few already, and we will take it from there. So anyways, we'll start off with Mike Oxard this time, saying if New York Times wasn't totally disingenuous, they would have used the picture of him from the July 13th incident. Sums up what he's been through in a nutshell. Well, first of all, it's not the New York Times. It's Time. Second of all, we don't know what the picture is going to be. I think it's going to be announced tomorrow because that one picture a lot of people were spreading around was the 2016 Person of the Year cover where it says Divided States of America. We don't know what it's going to say this time. It wouldn't put it past me if they picked a different image, obviously, because they don't want to portray him in the most positive light. But if they wanted to sell as many copies as they possibly could, that's the picture they're going to use. That probably would be their best-selling magazine of all time because people are just going to want to buy the cover. So Johnny Heartdog for 20 says, I'm a little late in getting home, so I wasn't able to start it off as tradition. Please forgive me. I'll do better next time. It's not too early to get out to work on the midterms. We need to start fielding candidates now. I say we got to work now, start funding, propping up candidates, starting grassroots efforts, candidates to primary and candidates to flip. If we botch the midterms, Trump won't get his agenda done and we'll never get another chance? Well, we do need to get the midterms taken care of. We'll be doing that and covering the news simultaneously over the next couple of years here on the channel. That's a big project, protecting Donald Trump's legacy. That's the best way to do it, is to make sure he can have 4 years to pass through his agenda. Although we did just wrap up 2024, it is true we can't take our foot off the gas. We still need to register voters. If we had more people turn out, it would have been even a bigger victory. And a lot of people did show up, and that's a very good thing. But we got to continue. We got to keep going. The fun. It's fun. We can celebrate. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. And then eventually 2025, come mid-25, we're going to really need to start getting these candidates fielded for sure, because the primaries are going to start, March, April of 2026. So we got to get going. We got to get going. But that is true. And it's no problem for not starting off the stream. We're glad to have you anyways. Also for 10, Johnny Hart Dog says, speaking of midterms, would we Alaskans be better off putting rank voting on the ballot for the midterms, or wait till no, you can't wait till the presidential election, because that's when Murkowski's up for re-election. It has to be now. And, it's got to be better worded. It's got to be better funded. And if you do that, then ranked choice voting or rank voting, or whatever they want to call it up there, it's going to be a thing of the past. It should already be a thing of the past right now. Also, Darth Chipmunk says, signing off, this is the last day. Okay, well, last day, the ban continues, but I appreciate the final super chat from Darth Chipmunk. Let's see, Johnny Hard Dog again for 20 says, by the way, funny story, I work as a bus driver attendant. Kids were being rowdy, and I told one of them he needed a tall glass of shut up juice, referencing the Cenk and Lichtman debate. One kid got it, but I got in a little trouble. Not allowed to raise my voice or anything, but I couldn't resist. Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. It is true. Lichtman definitely needs a tall glass of shut-up juice. Now, is he going to drink it? I don't know. I haven't heard much from him, so maybe he is drinking it. But he's an endless gold mine for content. If he wants to have yet another meltdown, we'll react to it with the face cam in the corner. It'll be yet another reaction video that a lot of people are going to want to tune into, which, by the way, I get some comments on the last video. They're like, why do you stop the video and talk? It's like, have you guys never seen a reaction video before? I'm sorry. But you could watch the original video, but this is my video, like, for my commentary. Did I pause it too much? Well, you kind of want to do that, and I mainly do that to make sure that I don't, step on any copyright sort of violation, or at least to the point where I can keep monetization for the video. But I don't know. There's just a few people, but I thought I would mention it anyways. And guys, make sure you like the stream down below. Let's get to 300 likes. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't. We're so close to 214K. Hopefully we can get there. James says, Rep, did you see it was LTE and Harry Sisson were managing the Harris headquarters social? Oh, yeah, we knew that. I mean, at least the TikTok. I don't know who ran the Twitter, but we know the full team. And it's like these people, they lied their asses off. It was the most shameless, low-effort, shameless content, trying to mine for clicks. Did they think they were changing the outcome of people's votes? Did they think they were going to change the outcome of the election by taking Trump out of context every 5 seconds? Because that's exactly what they were doing. It was the most shameless stuff. Like, anybody could see this with half a brain if they're an undecided voter. It's some of the tactics the left uses that is really turning off a lot of people. And they're not all that effective. They're really not. To be fair and honest, they're not all that effective. Some of the tactics they use that the right is afraid to use can be effective. And when we start using them, which we did, in some cases, like with the election and stuff, wow, we actually started to win. But some of these tactics that are just so lowbrow, they think the people have an IQ of about 45, yeah, these things don't work. Those things don't work. And a lot of people will associate with these accounts, whatever, they can do that, but then they try to brand themselves as nonpartisan. And when they do that, it's like, yeah, you lose a lot of credibility. You know, people say, well, you have the bias or whatever. It's like, yo, really? Wow, Red Eagle Politics has a right bias. Wow, I had no idea. I almost forgot I was wearing a MAGA hat. Yeah, wow. But what can I say, guys? What can I say? Let's go to the next super chat here. John Robinell says Wisconsin has a big election. Vote Brad Schimel April 1st next year. We can flip the state Supreme Court conservative. That's a big test. It's definitely something that we need to cover, and we need to get people out and voting for that election, because the Democrats are really just trying to run the state, and they can do it. I mean, they already have the governorship, but through the Supreme Court, they've done a lot of damage already in Wisconsin, and we've kind of seen that. And again, when you look at who has control of the levers of power in these states, it's Democrats now in Wisconsin in full. You look at the election law changes, new maps they're trying to force through. It's going to help the Democrats stay in power. That's why it's important we control, some of these governorships, some of these, lower positions even within the state, because that can have a lot of pull if you're talking about these election laws and in terms of these state legislatures and the Supreme Court of the states, not the national Supreme Court, which is obviously important, but we know we have that locked up for pretty much a generation now. Could even end up being 7-2 by the time Donald Trump leaves office, for all we know. But regardless, it just kind of shows us that that we need to control as much of the offices that are available in a state as possible. That's what it comes down to. And it does start in Wisconsin. Can we get these voters out in an off-year election to get the candidate across the finish line? Donald Trump stayed out of the last one. Will he get involved this time? Hopefully he does, because it's a massive net positive. And if he can remain popular throughout that part of his term, and he can get people to the polls in Wisconsin, yeah, a very good chance Republicans could end up flipping back the Supreme Court there. But it is true, state issues are state issues. Democrats do still have the upper hand on abortion at the state level in terms of using it to energize voters. It's true that at the national level, it didn't really help them out much, but without it, it's possible Trump would have ended up expanding his margin of victory because less Democrats would have turned out. So let's continue to be careful. Democrats are disillusioned. We won a special election in Louisiana, which we were not supposed to win, but we won East Baton Rouge, which is very Democrat, D+12 this year. But we ended up winning it by, 9 points? That's an impressive, 21-point turnaround right there. Hamster Eater 96 says, did you see what's going on with the Texas State House Speaker race? Disgraceful behavior from the Rhino and anti-school choice class. I've been hearing a little bit about it. I'm not entirely sure what's going on with the race. I thought they settled on a speaker. So if are they going back and forth on it, or what's the deal there? I have no idea. But we're about to find out. Red Whale Politics for 10 says a lot of people got red-pilled around 2021 and 2022 because Democrats in the mainstream media overplayed their hand with things like COVID, the BLM riots, lockdowns, Afghanistan, Rittenhouse, etc. Well, I think you're leaving off a very important one, which is immigration. Immigration is a massive issue, and when Democrats open the border to 10 million, you basically double what they say is the illegal alien population of the country, which it's probably higher for both, so I will even just leave it at double. But you virtually double the illegal alien population in the country in a 4-year span, much of which was in the those first couple of years. It's like, yeah, a lot of people are going to be upset about it. And Democrats were able to kind of, I guess you would say, temporarily steal the conversation with the whole Dobbs v. Jackson stuff, but it wasn't really quite sustainable, especially against somebody like Donald Trump, where Trump doesn't focus on those issues. He focuses on the other things that you mentioned, things like immigration, which was not mentioned. But, things like being tough on these rioters, or just the whole like culture war thing. It's true. A lot of people, some of these other more establishment Republicans will claim that they're the ones fighting it. But in reality, it's like a battle for like the soul of the nation. What do we stand for as a nation? That sort of thing. And that's what Donald Trump represents a hell of a lot better than a lot of these other people in the Republican Party, many of whom still don't get it and are voting against his cabinet picks for one reason or another. So let's see. Base Cat says, would you make a biggest winners and losers of the 2024 election cycle video? I think that would be a fitting end of the year discussion. We'll do an end of the year video, probably to be released on or the day before New Year's. We're not quite there yet. I guess we're almost there. We've got about 20 days left to go until we'll be in the new year of 2025, and Donald Trump will be taking office on January 20th, 2025. So we're knocking on the door. We're right around the corner. And for some reason, Joe Biden is still in the White House. I don't think anybody remembered, but that's it's technically true. But we're about to get a real president in about 40 days because whatever the hell's going on there, or whoever's been leading the country for the past 4 years, well, we all know. And that's the whole thing with Kamala Harris. People are like, who's running it's just the people under Biden. It's his administration. And if Kamala assumed power, she'd just be the figurehead. That's all it is. Figurehead of the regime, of the establishment, the status quo, the deep state, you name it. It's all there. It's all there. Things would have gotten worse. The border would be open back up again. Democrats, they tried to, enact some of these proposals, and they didn't really work all that great. And part of the reason why the border crossings went down to begin with at the border is because they, first of all, weather. Second of all, when the time fall hits, well, Donald Trump is on his way back. So, or at least they thought, why go now? Why not wait? If Harris won, which seems ridiculous to say now, looking back at it, you would have seen a massive surge to the border. They would have been like, oh, well, we won being woke, so they'd go back to crazy. But no, now, they used return to normal when Biden was running back in 2020. Now we're actually doing the return to normal in a very different way. Maybe it's an unconventional thing compared to politics 15 or 20 years ago, but I think that the way that politics is now, Donald Trump redefined politics. He realigned the electoral map as well. A lot of that is just on him. A lot of that is only on him, to be honest. But we will be doing a biggest winner. I mean, we could cover that. We could do a recap video. We could do a lot of things, but we're not quite there yet. We're not quite there. Johnny Hartdog for 10 says, I know I asked this before, but I thought there was a way Trump could bypass the Senate through the Speaker of the House to get recess appointments. Isn't there a way Trump can get it done? I didn't know that you could do it through the Speaker of the House. I don't think that that's true. I could be wrong about that. But from what I understand, recess appointments were you try to jam through the appointments beforehand. you try to get them through by without a confirmation hearing, just by a simple Senate vote. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think it has to do with the Speaker of the House. And there's some potential obscure laws from the 90s where Trump could, hypothetically put somebody in power like via an emergency through maybe it is the House Speaker for 140 days to get it done, to get the position held, and then maybe extend it for another 140. I don't know if he's going to need to do that for anybody, but he says he's going to fight like hell to get RFK Jr. in there, fight like hell to get Tulsi confirmed, all these other people, which I think a lot of them are going to be confirmed easier than people really think, but we'll see. That's going to tell us a lot, who votes on which cabinet picks. And even some of the people that vote for, but if they're hesitant, that still tells us a lot. So keep that in mind. Red Whale Politics says, have you seen the insane mental gymnastics and race hustling after the hero Daniel Penny was acquitted? Yeah, and I wasn't fully I didn't really cover the case because I didn't have at the time all the details, but I've learned a lot more about it for sure. But the main gist that I did know, and it's kind of the main theme that people will talk about when they mention the case, is you have a guy who stops a horrific attack on a train by putting somebody in a chokehold, who's acting crazy and saved many people's lives of different backgrounds, you name it, New York City, liberal area. Now, it's funny that they finally charge, there's a lot of people that should be going to jail there, but this is the guy they charge. He's just a good Samaritan who put somebody in a chokehold to stop them from attacking and killing other people. He took matters into his own hands. They try to say he's like a racist vigilante, but it's like, no, he's saving people's lives. That's the main takeaway. They always have to insert race. Race doesn't belong in a case like this, but the race hustlers do it because it's an industry for them. But I think a lot of people are starting to wake up to it. Not everybody, but a good chunk of people are starting to wake up to this. And that's kind of why wokeness in and of itself is collapsing on itself. It's dying. In fact, the biggest subscribers of the woke, it's not the target audience anymore. I mean, you do have a lot of minorities who will, support the woke stuff, but it's not as much as it was before. Mainly it's the white liberals, mainly women, but also like just very liberal white individuals. Those are who buy into the wokeness the most at this stage in the game. And you're seeing less and less of it in the culture because I think they understand, all these corporations that go woke, part of it is because you have liberals that are infiltrating their marketing departments, which is smart, and we should be doing the same. But I will say that a lot of it is because, it's profitable. Other corporations are doing it. We don't want blowback, so we'll join in. But now they realize, it's not popular to do that. So these corporations are going to end up being, in turn, less woke. And that's always been how you stop this woke capitalism. I mean, you can do certain remedial things. I'm not saying you can't. You can try to go after certain corporations or try to, whatever, a woke tax or something, which could work hypothetically. Some people will claim it's a violation of the First Amendment, and you'd have to get into a big constitutional debate about that. But the one thing that you can do that doesn't require such a woke tax, which was an idea I actually came up with back in the day, like 2021, is you have to just change the conversation. And there's very few people that can do it, but that's, Donald Trump is one of those people, but also the movement and the energy behind Donald Trump. It's far bigger than Donald Trump, although that's partially why, he's on the screen as the Time Magazine Person of the Year, because it was big enough to win. And as Donald Trump said before the election, as we said, too big to rig. I wonder how many people didn't vote because they thought it'd be just a rigged system and Donald Trump wins anyways. It's a testament to the fact that people need to understand that they can still beat the system. It's not perfect. Believe me, it's far from perfect. There are a lot of shenanigans going on. And I think there was probably in 2016 as well. But we started to fight back enough and we got big enough turnout and we were able to go out there and win. And that should tell a lot of people about how effective this movement truly is. So, let's see. Exactly says, haven't seen a comment on the Texas House. I don't know what's going on there. There is a speaker battle to replace Phelan. So Phelan's going to be gone, which is good. The question is, who do you end up with? It's brutal, but you have this civil war kind of taking place, and either way, they need to get somebody in there. Let's see what somebody in chat said. Dustin Burrows is the rhino claiming he has enough Republican and Democrat votes to become speaker despite. Okay, yeah, I see what's going on. Yeah, so the guy that was better, who defected from the Phelan crowd, won, but then you have this other guy who's getting Democrats to support him and wants to be the Republican Speaker of the House, essentially. That's what's going on. It's ridiculous. They need to stop the madness. They lost. It's over. End of discussion. It should be the party votes for the speaker, and then you go from there. Not you have the Democrats decide who the Speaker of the House is going to be because you have 20 bought and paid for rhinos in the House or whatever. I know it's a little bit more than that, but still, you get the point. It's completely ridiculous. They just can't handle losing their grip on power. It's like I said, Texas, it used to be like a very establishment Republican state, but the realignment has made it into like a MAGA state. Ironically enough, it voted for Trump by 14 points. You erased all of the Democrat gains, all the little bit of a deficit Republicans had, and it was waning every cycle. It goes from 12, 15, then it goes down to 9, and then it goes down from there. So you name it. Let's see. Red Whale Politics is after Trump's victory and Daniel Penny being found innocent. Do you think this marks the end of... Well, I don't think woke is dead. The Democrats, in a way, they can't fully get away from it. It's still going to be there in some form, but it's good that the whole culture is shifted back to like pre-2016 election like level of wokeness, one could even argue, like 2015. Like, I don't know. We'll see what happens next year. We'll see what happens during Trump's presidency. But we haven't seen a year that was, less woke than probably 2024 in a long, long time, which is a good thing. I think it peaked sometime in 2023. I think I don't know what changed. It felt like when we won the whole beer war with the Bud Light thing, it started to be like, okay, well, maybe there's momentum here, even though like it was maybe one of the few battles we could win because it wasn't big enough to fail. Essentially, you had a company that produced a product that sold a lot because it was generic, and then it just got associated with that sort of thing. The alphabet stuff became like the gay beer or whatever, quote unquote, and that's why people just stopped drinking it or whatever. It worked. And then you saw, I don't know, Target decided to like stop doing the woke stuff. And now you see them this year. There's signs that they hang up from what I've seen where they're saying Merry Christmas again. That's another thing. We have strayed away from that for the longest time. People don't want to offend people or whatever, so they don't say Merry Christmas, despite the fact that most Americans celebrate Christmas. It is what it is, and now people are starting to say it again. It seems more and more in public. Maybe it's just because it's. I mean, I haven't seen this in Texas even in quite some time, but it's everywhere. It seems like it's making a comeback. It does seem as if the culture and the conversation is completely shifted. It's turned on its head in just the past couple of years. And I think another thing was it wasn't just that. It was also when Elon bought Twitter. And eventually made it X. That was a big, big turning point in that whole ordeal, because what he did is he opened up the marketplace of whatever you want to call it, ideas, free speech. Either way, it changed who had the control. When you have a freer, fairer algorithm, you see works wonders. Even on one platform, it's more than enough to change the entire conversation, even in the real world, because a lot of like the outrage does stem from like the online stuff. And when that kind of, dissipates a little bit and people start to regain sanity, you see what happens. So I don't know. Is it the end of the era? I think the grip that woke had on society is weakened. The problem for the Democrats is it's not going away for them. They're not going to be able to effectively root it out. And if Donald Trump has a halfway decent presidency, it's very likely you're going to have a J.D. Vance victory in 2028. And that's a whole nother conversation. And we are far away from that election. We just got done with this one, but it's never too early to start talking about, if this, and this happens, the party's going to be better off, or if this, and this happens, the party's going to be worse off. But wokeness is becoming more and more unpopular. Democrats haven't fully gotten away from their lunacy, and they say, Kamala Harris did everything correctly this election cycle. It's like, do we really just have to rehash the past few months And it's not like, it was true, she got put in a very weak position. I'm not going to deny that. She came in with tied to a very unpopular president, but still, she was an atrocious candidate. She didn't even make it to Iowa. And people say she didn't have enough time. She had way too much time. Eventually, the wheels fell off of the wheelbarrow probably sometime around mid to late September. If they were honestly, they never really were on. The whole polling bump thing was all theatrics. It was all response bias from the beginning. Now everybody can see it, but it's true. Everybody can see it. So Mark Andrew Hamilton says, do you think Doge cuts $2 trillion? ZH thinks not, because most debt is politically sensitive entitlements and interest. Thoughts? It's possible. There's a lot of waste. Even within those entitlements, there's a lot of waste that gets spent that could be easily cut. And if we find it and we can cut it, you're going to be able to reduce the debt and the deficit. So we're about to see. Also, bringing in more revenue would help. And tax cuts actually do bring in more revenue. And even Trump's did. The problem was spending went up a little bit too much. But the data speaks for itself, and the fact that they actually increased revenues. Red Whale Politics is, why did the Reagan coalition collapse? Because, you're talking about one man that a cult revolves around, 40 years ago, essentially. It's not going to be sustainable. You had a different country then. You had different issues back then. And you have a lot of Republicans who can acknowledge that obviously Reagan did great things, but then they want to create the party or maintain the party to be like a Reaganite cult, which has basically become what many call zombie Reaganism. It's just obsolete. It's an obsolete ideology for 2025 and beyond. We'll see what happens. Is Donald Trump's coalition 40 years from now going to still be in existence? Who knows? Maybe by then you'll have a different system. The Overton window will have shifted. The parties are not going to be as far apart from each other. Who knows what the map is going to look like? We're not there yet, or maybe we're more polarized, or maybe it's a one-party state virtually with a regional party, and actually it's the Democrats who are put out of power. Or maybe for some reason Republicans don't learn anything, and then after Trump is gone, they manage to try to go back to the days of old, where they basically become that regional party that never wins anything again. It's a fight for sure. We don't know what's going to happen, but you have to find a way to win and find a way to deliver. And I think that the principles that Trump puts at the forefront, you talk about, it's conservatism, but it's mainly focused, instead of arbitrary social issues you make zero headway on and eventually cave on anyways, like a lot of the neocons did. It's mainly focusing on conserving the nation and what the nation stands for, and that's the utmost priority in this day and age, because you can't have conservatism without any form of nationalism anyways in the social sphere, because it stems from having cohesion. That's what it stems from. So J.R. Williams says, would you agree if both H.R. 2, which codifies Remain in Mexico, and the SAVE Act don't get passed this session, it will spell the end? Well, hopefully we can get both of those passed. I don't know if it spells the end of our republic. There's things Trump can do as an executive to go out there and make sure that these mass deportations get underway. But having H.R. 2, again, remember the border bill thing? First of all, you don't need a bill to fix the border, but this was an actually good border bill, and not a single Democrat supported it. But then the fake border bill, which had more money going to Ukraine than the current border, and would have codified the invasion in part, saying, oh, we'll let in 2 million people per year before we start to put our security measures in place. It's like, what the hell's going on here? How is this even bipartisan? Well, either way, the H.R. 2, if they actually cared about the border, they would have passed the good border bill, not the garbage one. Clay Franklin for 10 says, Texas feels to the left of states like Ohio or Florida. They don't have anyone like Vance or Gates. Even Ted Cruz is a poor man's DeSantis. Oh, man. I mean, in a way, in terms of the national level, the coalition in the primary was relatively similar, at least in Iowa, but it was not even nearly as much, obviously. But yeah, I really think that Texas, I mean, they don't have as much, I guess you would say, solid representation in Washington. You have a lot of rhinos that represent the people of Texas because this is the way it works. And obviously you have a lot of good, though. You have Ken Paxton, you have some other people that are really solid, but you have a lot of these weak establishment rhinos. It's funny because, the Texas State House is full of the rhinos, maybe less so because Paxton went on his revenge tour, cleaned some of them out, but not all of them. The Senate's actually, even though it's the upper chamber, they almost unanimously cleared Paxton. So it's kind of a very different vibe there. So it's I guess you would say it doesn't feel as like MAGA, maybe from that, but things are changing. Times are changing. The coalitions are shifting, and it definitely does not feel like a blue state. Now, it might feel left, they don't have as many solid Congress. I mean, they have some. You might not hear about them, but they have some, and hopefully they can get more. But it's not, I don't know if it's to the left of, Ohio and Florida. Florida is just, the vibes there are on another level. But there is a case to be made about Texas. There really is. Just depends on where you are. James says, did you see where radical leftists are? Yeah, they're going to like Blue Sky or some other app that nobody's going to be using in about a week. But that's where they're going. They go to their version of Truth Social, or it's more like Parler, to be honest, or one of those apps from back in the day. But yeah, as a proponent of some sort of alt tech, and I guess it kind of worked with like Rumble. Rumble became a notable website for sure that people actually use still. But it just took Elon to buy, I guess you would say, X to change the landscape. Red Whale Politics says, I love watching the delusions of Dems thinking Texas and Florida were going blue. It's like saying Republicans. Well, I'm almost getting there. Yeah, it's almost getting to that point. California was only a 20-point win for Kamala Harris. It was not some cakewalk victory, landslide compared to like Hillary Clinton's 31-point victory, Biden's 29-point victory. The coalition Democrats have in California, it might not be sustainable if these trends continue into the 2030s and 40s. It's possible you end up with a red California. I think California is going to go Republican within our lifetimes. The question is, how soon does it end up going Republican? You would anticipate that it probably would at some point become a red state. It just depends on certain things, depends on, are we going to keep taking in X amount of people per year? Are we going to give amnesty to these illegals? Because they're not going to be voting. You have a lot of Hispanics that are voting Republican. A lot of those people are like second generation, third generation. These are not the people that are pouring across the border. And then you have a lot of like South Asian immigration that's pouring in. That's it's technically legal, but that's another issue for sure. You're talking about overcrowding. We need to actually be able to sustain ourselves without importing, half of a subcontinent halfway across the globe into Kansas or North Texas every single year in order for the country to sustain itself. That's something I feel like a lot of conservatives need to understand about legal immigration. At a minimum, it should be cut as well. I think you'd have a mandate to even institute a moratorium just because we still need to get a lot of the illegal aliens out of our country back to where they came. You can't handle that when you're taking in 1 million new people every year. Now you have Stephen Miller in there as basically the de facto immigration czar. Hopefully we'll see some progress. I know Donald Trump rhetorically likes to say we'll accept the highest number of legal possible, but Trump is like he exaggerates certain things. You look at his tenure and what he was saying his first term, you look at it this term, I don't think we're going to get a moratorium of sorts, but I think we will get hopefully some cuts across the board. I'd like to see cuts. Because honestly, it displaces the middle class, a lot of these H-1Bs as well. Undercuts wages, makes them lower for pretty much everybody. It's not a good thing. Let's see. Christian News Junkie, thank you for the one. Red Whale Politics says, sorry, my Reagan question was more like, why did Republicans lose with the coalition back in 92 was George H.W. Yeah, he went back on some campaign promises. He made a lot of the more, I guess you would say, like populistic people a little bit upset as well that were supporting Reagan and supported Bush in 88, and those people turned to Perot. So Perot definitely hurt him, but if it was head-to-head, Clinton still would have won because, the economy, just like now, the vibes were not where they were despite the strong numbers or whatever. It's ironic because Alan Lichtman, at the time with his little keychain, he was saying that Bush did not have the economy keys in his favor, which he was right to his credit because perception didn't line up. But perception of the economy then was far better than it is right now. But still they're saying, oh no, Trump doesn't actually have the economy keys in his favor because of the numbers. And then when people feel like the economy is not working in their favor, it's disinformation. That's what they blame, and that's not true. People just have eyes, they have ears, they have a wallet, they have a pocketbook, they make money, and they don't feel as if they're making enough. Even if they're doing well, they're not putting money away like they were before. And obviously, when it became a choice between the Trump presidency or the Biden presidency, because this election was just a referendum of that, you had a lot more people that cared about the things that mattered instead of the things that didn't matter. That's why Trump walked away with 77 plus million votes. It's why you didn't see Harris even win the popular vote, which surprised a lot of people who thought it was a done deal anyways for a Democrat to win the popular vote. So anyways, I think we're going to be wrapping up the show. It's been great, but we're just at the hour mark, and we will be wrapping things up. I will be live this weekend, probably on Sunday, so do stay tuned, and I will be back with another video tomorrow. So anyways, guys, before we end the stream, like the stream down below, hit the bell, subscribe, follow me on social media. The links are in the description down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle out.